Okay, call this session to order. Wednesday, December 5th, council regular session. Time is 7 p.m. prompt. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I would like to kick this meeting off with just a moment of silence for our president who passed away, George W. Bush. Not W. Herbert. Herbert, yes. 41. So let's have a moment of silence. Okay, I don't know if people had a chance to watch that funeral service, but it was pretty remarkable. It really makes me feel proud to be an American. When I sit there watching that, and it always takes. It's kind of like family get together. You always end up losing at a funeral, and you're like, why do we wait so long to get together? And it always takes some type of disaster or a big, huge public figure for us to come together and realize that the politics and the little things that we are so passionate about, sometimes to a fault, and the amount of hatred that is wrapped up around that. And then when something like this happens, we realize that we really do genuinely love one another. And that's what I gathered from watching that funeral today. So I hope, and I do love our community, and I hope that we continue to show that, and I feel we do a pretty good job of that, and I'm proud of this community, and but we could always do better. And that's one thing I realize is sometimes he made decisions that weren't popular, probably lost him that election, but he did what was right for the country, not what was right for him. So that's what we continue to try to do up here. I can speak for myself for sure on that, is that I have this community's interest best at heart. So with that, we're going to open it up to visitor comments. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is...
It's on, yeah.
My name is Jen Farrington. Thank you so much for your time. I'm here to say thank you. Thank you very much for speaking up for our community and having your voices heard specifically at the Port of Columbia County. I was not able to make the work session today. I was working, but I did listen streaming, and I was really, really proud of our community today. I really felt it. And I appreciated seeing so many members of the community coming and speaking out. And I really appreciated listening to you all listen. It made me feel very proud of having you guys here representing us. I was not able to make that meeting, and I know that you heard a lot of angles on why it's important to oppose the amendments that Global is proposing at the Port of Columbia County. I won't repeat all of those things. I really appreciate that so many people were so eloquent with it today. But I did want to add my voice in opposition. And I also wanted to say that this is a personal matter for me. We were fortunate enough to buy a home in St. Helens, and we are right there on the tracks, a couple hundred feet away. As many of you know, I have a 3-year-old daughter, and so it is definitely a concern. It feels like they're going right through our backyard, not to mention the fact that they run along 30 and all of the commuting that I do with her on that road. Again, I'm not going to go through all those other points, but this is definitely a matter that's close to my heart, and I know I'm not the only home that lives so close to the tracks. And again, as a thank you to you all for standing strong against this, I'm hoping that I can get your commitment to be at that port meeting on the 12th at 8:30 in the morning. It's been moved to the library. Thank you. The auditorium there. I'm hoping that we can get your commitment to be there to stand in person. I know, and I thank you for being there at the previous meeting. I just want to make sure that we will see you there as well on the 12th.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, come on up.
Good evening, Trinity Monahan. And before I get started, the opinions I have and the questions I have are only on behalf of myself and have nothing to do with any other roles or relationships I have. So I am a member of the Columbia City PTO, and we did some volunteer work for the school district in a fundraising effort over the course of the Halloween Town event. And the district pays for a booth, and then you can sign up throughout whatever school organizations that were able to try and make money for whatever causes they had. Mm-hmm. And so I did not volunteer last year. I did volunteer this year. And while I was there, I found out that there was some limitations on what you could sell. And one of those limitations was on water. And so the person I was volunteering with kind of gave me background. Apparently, our organization, the PTO, apparently brought in some water last year, and we're told that's not acceptable. You can't do that. And so this year we were very careful not to do that. Mm-hmm. So while I was doing the volunteering, I ran across someone who I assume was Tina Curry. I never did ask her name. I did not do any of that nature, but she seemed to be in charge of things at the moment. And so I asked, why was that restricted? Our preference would be not to sell Gatorade or Powerade or something of that nature, but really we wanted to be able to serve the community through water. And the answer I got was that, you could have done that if you had paid us an additional $200. And that kind of struck me off a little bit. On one hand, it's a nonprofit. It's designed to be a fundraiser, so I don't know the process on how those permits are allowed or how they're approved or anything else. So that got me thinking, was that in the contract or was that known at the time, or how did that work? So I went and requested all of the contract information for 2017 and 2018. There's nothing in the contract about an upcharge or an additional cost to sell something. There is something in the contracts that say that you can't sell things without permission or authorization or approval, but it didn't mention anything about an upcharge. And in the conversation with this person, essentially what it was relayed to me is that person needed to make extra money, and that we in St. Helens didn't understand the cost of what the permits cost in Portland or other places, which to me was somewhat irrelevant to my concern. And then the conversation kind of went a different direction to, well, the people that are supposed to be selling popcorn aren't here. Do you know how to run a popcorn machine? Maybe I'll give that to you. It was just an odd situation, and it felt to me very disingenuous. As the whole purpose that I was there was to try and make money for my school and for my organization, and I'm being told that in no place was it ever informed in a contract that there would be an upcharge. That information only came through in an email after someone else at the district said, "Hey, can we sell water? What do we need to do here?" And then it was through an email that was, "No, you have to give us $200." So I just had some concerns about that. I don't know the process. I don't know how any of this stuff works. But when I saw the contracts and that there was no piece in there about that upcharge, it's just concerning to me. So do you guys have any information that would help me understand that?
Tina, what? She's here.
Is Tina here?
Mm-hmm. She's in the back.
No.
Water's a big item.
Yeah, we don't,
Which
because we hire an event person. I haven't seen the contracts and you have, so
I
to be answering a question about a statement, I can't.
Did you receive my email that I sent? I sent an email to all of you this afternoon.
No,
probably
no,
haven't seen
no.
anything in
We
me.
have
I haven't
been,
checked mine.
our work session was,
Tina, do you want to?
Pretty
Yeah, like
brutal.
this one,
My
yeah.
apologies. It should have been sent previously.
We
I
could,
didn't see it. I didn't get a chance to see it today.
we could
But
have
we-
Tina come up.
We can.
That would be helpful just to get information for.
all right, well, if you want to take a seat, we'll
Thank you.
probably get a, give us just a second here. We're just trying to go, come on up, Tina. I was talking to,
Okay, so how the water scenario works is that, as you know, Stephanie is our vendor coordinator, or you may not know that, but Stephanie works with the vendors to sign people up. And last year we had several people that said, we really want to sell water. Can we sell water? So that is a category that the city had with the Humane Society last year. We sold water and coffee and hot cocoa. And we had an opportunity for the Humane Society to do something different this year, and they thought that that would be a good idea. So we said, okay, to offset the loss of the us selling water and coffee, we would allow the vendors to go ahead and do that for a fee. So I know that Stephanie sent out numerous emails to the vendors that gave them the offer after the fact. If they wanted to go ahead and sell water or coffee, they could, but it would be $200 more. And so that would offset our loss of revenue from that sale. But at the same time, a lot of the vendors probably made more money than, you know, $200 selling water. So it was a good deal for them too. I remember him asking about that, and I thought, well, you know, I don't know who signs the deals with like the school district necessarily, if those people themselves are on site. So it's it's probably not getting conveyed down the chain, whoever gets the original email for the vendor contact. You know, in each company there's a vendor contact. So I don't know who at the school would have gotten the emails from Stephanie, but I know that they went out because people signed up to do water. So she also, I know, called every person, you know, in every group before the vendors even set up.
And this
like
was
as
the cost for the entire month.
for the whole month, yeah. And then when the Rotary didn't show up on a Saturday, I did tell them, hey, if you want to sell popcorn, we have a popcorn machine. You could sell popcorn right now. I have all the supplies. So I just made an offer if they wanted to make some. If they knew how to run a popcorn machine, they could certainly use that and try to increase their revenues.
Is this just based on just kind of my own way I understand it is kind of the reason why you have, like, you can sell what you're approved is kind of you plan the menu for the event.
Yes,
You don't have 6 hot dog carts
correct.
and 3, you know, pizza
Yeah.
carts. So it's like you have a variety of things.
Yeah,
And so once you had passed out all those tickets, and then you decided, oh, the water ticket's not going to be used, you kind of divided that back up against
yes.
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think there was probably 6 companies that opted to sell water, and some people didn't. But they could sign up for it any time during the month, and if they didn't sign up for it in the beginning and they changed their minds. But I definitely did offer to say, hey, there's a popcorn machine right here. If you want to sell some popcorn today, you can use the machine if you want to.
okay.
Yeah. So I
Right.
hope that answers the question.
It
I
does,
just
yes, yep. So I hope that answers your question. I'm gonna call this lady up first because she had her hand raised, and then
She
come
was
on up and state
mid-stand.
state your name for the record, please.
My name is Elaine Kelly. I live in Warren, and I'm on the board of the Oregon Conservancy Foundation, an organization that's very actively opposed to the oil train proposed and the expansion or the reduction of restrictions. I saw the report on the National Climate Assessment, the latest one that came out, and I was just wondering if council members had had a chance to study that. It's pretty scary. And I just want to address a few things. The increase in oil by rail is unprecedented, and it's growing from 9,500 carloads in 2008 to 435,000 carloads in 2013, roughly the equivalent of 300 million barrels. The oil industry is pushing to transport even more via proposed terminals in the Pacific Northwest, as you well know. The large amounts of harmful, flammable oil being transported by rail are a threat to the environment and our communities. The National Climate Assessment has a whole section on the impact on the Pacific Northwest of climate change, which is another big issue besides public safety and the environment. Climate change is a big issue. The National Climate Assessment summarizes the impacts of climate change in the United States. It's a team of more than 300 experts guided by 60-member Federal Advisory Committee, and the report was extensively reviewed by the public and experts, including federal agencies and a panel of the National Academy of Sciences. Again, have any of you had a chance to study the report? Then let me just mention a few highlights regarding the Pacific Northwest. Of course, we have rising summer temperatures and changing water flows threatening salmon and other fish species. The Northwest economy, infrastructure, natural systems, public health, and agriculture sectors all face important climate change-related risks. Impacts on infrastructure, natural systems, human health, and economic sectors, combined with issues of social and ecological vulnerability, will unfold. My point is that I think it's time to consider not encouraging more fossil fuel production, development, transportation, and usage. This is very serious, and as you can tell from the fires in California and the fires we've had in Oregon, we're in big trouble if we don't do something really fast. That's what the scientists are saying, not me. There's going to be all kinds of impacts, insects and fire in Northwest forests, reduction of water availability. Let's see, significant snowmelt contributions. By 2050, snowmelt is projected to shift 3 to 4 weeks earlier than the last century's average, and summer flows are projected to be substantially lower. More challenges of summer increases in electric power demand for cooling and additional water consumption by crops and forests. Climate change will alter Northwest forests by increasing wildfire risk, insect and disease outbreaks, and by forcing longer-term shifts in forest types and species. Many impacts will be driven by water deficits, which increase tree stress and mortality, tree vulnerability to insects, and fuel flammability. By the 2080s, the median annual area burned in the Northwest would quadruple relative to the 1916-2007 period to 2 million acres, under a scenario that assumes continued increases in emissions through mid-century and gradual declines thereafter. So I just want to say I don't think, and our organization does not think, that decision makers should be encouraging the continued production, transport, and use of fossil fuels, and I hope that you will not consider Global's proposition. Thank you.
Would you be so kind to drop off your written testimony to us so that we might want to have a copy of it so we might refer to it
It's
later
just
on?
excerpts from the report mainly, but I'll just leave it right here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now you can come up, yep.
I'm Annie Christensen from St. Helens. I actually live in the county. I'm back. I was here earlier, and I have a couple of thoughts. One of the things that happened after we left was that a group of us gathered out on the sidewalk. Most of us didn't know each other, but people who were saying similar things against this proposal with the port. And the question came up whether we were actually clear what we were asking you guys to do. So there was a lot of evidence presented, but the consensus was what we really want to hear from you guys is to state for us. We feel voiceless and powerless, and we see you guys as having the ear of the port, and we're asking you to say loudly and publicly whatever your no might be. If there isn't time for a resolution to have the lawyers look at it, perhaps a joint letter. If there isn't a letter that you all agree on, like my thought was the rail, St. Helens says no until a rail study is completed. But maybe you guys don't all agree. And individual letters of no because of economic development, no because of the water issues, no because of the emergency response time.
We
no.
actually had that exact conversation after you left.
Oh, okay.
So we had that exact conversation that we don't have time for a proclamation or resolution, but we have instructed staff to work on a letter that expresses our concern to get to the port prior to their meeting.
Fabulous.
So we
and I
talked
would
about
ask,
it during our meeting, and then I confirmed after the meeting who was doing it and that it would happen before their meeting.
and my only other thought is, as a public person, I didn't really understand that I think all of you agree. I knew your position when you spoke at the port. I didn't realize you were speaking for everyone or most of you, or so as the public, I would love to know that, and I would love to hear that loud and clear. If some or all or one of you is going to speak.
So I had reached out and talked to Councilor Morton, and I talked a little bit to Susan, but Councilor Morton, and I was actually talking to my administrator about this when actually I got the call from Scappoose. And I go, that's really ironic, because we're both thinking the same thing, and yeah, let's show up there tomorrow and talk about safety for our community.
Great.
So that's where we came up with, we're wanting a rail impact study done on our area.
Yes.
So, and there's still, after today's testimony, there's still a lot of questions. I have never learned so much about oil in my life as I did today. So,
Do you know a way to communicate with Scappoose? Because they're not going to have another hearing, another city council meeting before this.
I will reach out. I
Okay.
will reach out. Yeah, I can't speak for Scappoose. I can only speak for myself.
But you have a connection.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do an ordinance, but maybe they would do a letter.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And the other thought I had was you have an old resolution?
Yes, we do.
And,
Yes.
and
Yes, that's
if-
what. That's why I was able to
That's
grab
what,
it.
that's
and
what
go.
we thought is the old resolution combined with a letter
Yes.
stating our continued concerns
Yep.
that have gone unheeded.
Yes.
It's like, we told you how we felt.
Yes.
We still feel this way.
And my request is that the port hear that and also the public.
Yes.
Thank
That
you.
the old resolution that you're talking about
Yes.
is it's kind of open-ended and it has a lot of flexibility to it. So there are issues in there that can be addressed and interpreted. So I would suggest that we make those available to you so you can look at it. And if you want to use some items in there that increased rail traffic, I know this verbiage is in there, increased rail traffic will have an effect on our citizens.
Right.
And with economy and livability and whatever,
Right.
you can take that and go where you want with it.
Well, and I think there are a few things that we want to add, like the rail impact study.
Right.
We'll
But
want to
that
add
John
that
is
in
the person
redoing
that
it.
will be the
Yeah.
point person at getting the letter.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that for insurance. If just as long as you have that
I
for yourself.
Yes. I have it.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Come on up. Please state your name for the record.
Mayor. My name is Dan Sears. I'm the Conservation Director with Columbia Riverkeeper. And really, I'm here to talk about oil trains. Surprise, surprise. We have been involved with dealing with oil train issues up and down the river since 2013. Oh, I'm sorry. Need to lean in here. And so one of the things that we just wanted to talk about was the experience we had with the Mosier oil train derailment. So our executive director was one of the first people who was on the scene when the train derailed. He got a call from a tribal fisherman who said, I think one of those black oil trains is on fire in Mosier. So he drove up there. He was on the phone with me, breaking the law, talking to me. And I can't repeat what he said because it's somewhat profane. But driving over that fire was really a jaw-dropping moment. What happened, with this train is going about 26 miles an hour. It had the newer, safer cars, the 1232s, instead of the .111s, which you hear a lot about. And several of them punctured when it derailed. It was one lag bolt that broke on the track. And when it derailed and punctured, it released over 40,000 gallons of oil. A lot of that burned. It was a windless day in Mosier, an unusual day. The next day was about 102 degrees and blowing 35 miles an hour. If that had happened the day after, the Mosier Community School would burn down. So one of my coworkers, his spouse teaches there. They had to evacuate kids. They had to evacuate homes. The city ran out of water trying to put out the fire, which burned for 14 hours. These are the things that motivated not just us to be involved, but the firefighters in Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, a bunch of towns, small and large, up and down the Columbia River that have weighed in. And I just want to say, I want to echo the thanks, because when you speak up, you are protecting communities where these trains don't go 10 miles an hour, where they're going 25 or even 50. So Spokane, for instance, all of these trains go through this choke point in Spokane. The other issue I understand that was brought up earlier today was the issue of drinking water. And this is one of the key issues that caused the state of Washington to turn down the big oil train terminal proposed in Vancouver, because a derailment could not just impact water directly by spilling into it, but it could impact soil and then the aquifer. So that I know is an issue for you. And I just, DEQ did quite a bit of soil and groundwater sampling in the immediate aftermath of Mosier. And right after it spilled, there were contaminants, mostly things like naphthalene, benzene, that were in the groundwater at levels far exceeding drinking water standards. So again, these concerns that have been brought to you are very, very reasonable. And I just want to, I'll leave with you just some of the resolutions from other cities, many of whom are like you, don't enjoy the privilege of getting to say yes or no to this directly. But it was those voices that ended up leading to the state of Washington turning down this huge Tesoro Savage project. This Global Partners proposal, while they're saying it's simply to increase their flexibility, any flexibility in handling more and different types of oil is going to lead to more oil trains potentially through the community. And I think just laying that bare is one of the great services you can do for the people of Columbia County. So on behalf of Columbia Riverkeeper, I just want to say thank you for your leadership. Thank you for speaking up. I know it's hard to do because you don't want to be standing in the way of job growth or development in the community. But this is the type of thing that has led community after community up and down the Columbia River to say, we're for most things, but this puts pretty much everything we've done at risk. And when Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, took a stand against that huge oil terminal, there was someone who'd often come and speak next to me. He was a Republican developer. Say, Dan and I agree on nothing except for this one thing: oil trains are really, really bad for downtowns and cities. And so I just want to leave you with that and say I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight.
I've got a question for you, if it's okay with the council. Your hands are tied, in a sense, with your group that you represent in terms of giving political contributions or supporting political ideals or whatever. What's to prevent you from the accountability of having an accountability of how people vote in this city, on this city council with our commissioners? There's nothing there that I know of that prevents you from how people vote. You can put that message out, and that's what's lacking, I feel, in your organization in terms of people knowing what's going on with how people vote in municipalities, whether they're the port, whether they're like our city council or whatever. I certainly think that you can get around what your hands are tied for contributions and those kinds of things, and simply find some accountability in how politicians are running our river.
I take that to heart. Thank you for that suggestion. I really appreciate that. And I agree.
And if you could just give those copies of resolutions to Kathy,
Sure thing.
city recorder.
Oh, and just before I leave,
Mhm.
last time I read about St. Helens having a robust discussion about a ferry.
Yes.
That has really popped up
Want to help?
upstream. Yeah, in both Vancouver and Portland. So
Yes.
you all cooked this idea up, and others have taken notice. So I want to thank you for that.
Okay, other visitor comments? Okay, I'm gonna recuse myself for a bit, and I will catch you guys in a little bit, halfway through the meeting or so. All you done.
Okay, on our agenda tonight is deliberations of street vacation, portions of 8th and 9th Street and Wyeth Streets. Deliberations are now open for that, so let's get some clarifications. And the clarifications are from our planning department, is that they are recommending number 3, option number 3, and option number 3 is what we went over briefly in our at our close of our hearing. Wait, does any council have any questions on option 3?
I believe it was option 3, and then there were some
There's
additional
staff findings.
recommendations.
Yeah, so if you want the easy motion, it would be option 3 as explained in the report, and that the city reserves the right to revisit the decision if actual topo or other information shows something different. That would cover everything we discussed. And then we can write a letter and tell them. And
Okay. Good. Thanks for clarifying that. So we can start talking about that now, and maybe I'll just start off with each council member kind of, bringing up an issue that or an opinion. So I'll start down at the very end with Keith. What's your thoughts?
Well, I've been up there and looked at it and been all over town. We have a lot of different situations in this town with all the rock bluffs and whatnot. So this seems to be a logical solution to help develop that up there. It obviously needs developed. So we have somebody that's willing to kind of take the challenge, and if we can help him out with that, I think it's a good thing. So I don't have any issues with it.
Susan?
Most of my questions were answered early on. I too went up, looked around. It's rocky terrain. It's not usable for a lot of things. Access is limited. And as long as it's not going to landlock anybody, other properties will still have access. I think the public interest is served, because part of serving the public interest is using property appropriately. And like I said before, although I'm not a big fan of street vacations, I see this as a way to develop that property that wouldn't be possible otherwise.
Thank you. Jenny?
I agree with the staff's report. I think that they worked out all the issues with the area from the original proposal, has been edited and adjusted to meet the needs of the neighbors and to meet the needs of the public. And I think that's, by very definition, what a street vacation is supposed to do, is supposed to meet the needs of the public. So I think Jacob and the Planning Commission did a good job of listening to public dialogue and really fleshing out the needs and really making it work to where people can build a few more homes in our community. So I would concur with the Planning Commission and Jacob's findings.
Thank you. And lastly, I'd like to say that we beat this one through the Planning Commission and through the council. It's been a long process and a fair, open process. At our last meeting before recess, I want to talk about any kinds of perceived ethical dilemmas. I have not talked to Ron or Rick about any of this. I don't know about any of the other council members, but I said I was not going to do that, and I haven't mentioned a thing to either one of them about what's going on with their permitting or any kinds of ethical dilemmas. I also talked to the League of Oregon Cities attorney about ethical dilemmas, and there are none. So the mayor has every right to develop that property, just like any other citizen. And the only problems with that is perceptual ethical dilemmas. And I'm trying to say, as far as anything goes with any of us, we're trying to be as open as we possibly can. And again, the mayor is in this sense just a citizen. So we've treated it that way, and I wanted to be above board, tell everyone in the audience that he asked for no favors, and we give no favors. So it's those kinds of decision-making process. The other thing that hasn't been alluded to is that area, and maybe I'm going to yield to Jacob on this, so you can kind of do a little historical kind of overview for just very briefly. But that area was looked at as a development to actually be mined. It was looked at as an area that could be developed, and it would have meant that the 20 feet elevation would have had to been taken down, and the obvious motivation was to mine that area. To me, this really puts an end to that, or starts an ending process on that, to get a livable area in up on that rock. I mean, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge for the builders to do that, but it's going to put an end to that. You know, the neighborhood is going to rest at peace that there will be no mining in that area, in that certain part of that anyway. So, Jacob, can you allude, or could I yield to you for just a moment to talk about that whole mining process that was looked at that was promoted as a development, but it was really in many motivating ways a mining operation. Can you talk about that a bit?
Yeah, sure. I know a few things about that experience. So a nearby rock feature, very similar to this in the same vicinity, several years ago, someone proposed to level it and not only bring the bluff down to street grade, but several feet below grade. And I think it was 20 feet below grade, but some time has passed. I don't remember those details specifically. But it was a huge amount of rock. It would have represented hundreds of dump trucks. And it challenged us to look at our zoning ordinance and go, what is this? And after some back and forth and a couple trips to Salem to both the Land Use Board of Appeals and the Oregon Court of Appeals, the city did determine, and it was affirmed by the judiciary, that it was in fact mining per our code, and it resulted in us clarifying what is mining in our code, such that in the case of development that you're removing the minimum amount of rock possible, which in most cases will be easy to meet. But when you want to create a pit, it's those extreme measures where this doesn't work. And obviously in this case, the right-of-way vacation outcome was tailor-made to the topography, to work with the topography rather than fight it. So that's the short on that. The other thing, given bias and stuff, early on in this process, one of the things that we need is consent. And I treated the applicants just like anybody else on getting the signatures that we need. I'm sure they remember that.
Well, I can't help but think this is a very positive circumstance that meets the positive needs of our public. And with that said, I'm very much favor of the street vacation. So let's take a vote, and I'll start down with or is there any other discussion before we do that, and we'll do a motion?
Do you want me to remind you of the
Please do.
suggested motion?
I got most of it.
So option 3, as noted in the report, including, which is not in the report, the city reserves the right to revisit the decision if actual topographic or other information shows something different.
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded that the street vacation regarding the third option go forward. Keith,
Yes.
are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Yes. And Jenny
Aye.
and Susan
Aye.
and myself, aye. So we have unanimous decision of 4-0, and that's it.
Great. We'll send them a letter, and then hopefully we get that done in a year and put this to rest.
It's a long road.
Yes, for the record. It's been a long road on that whole decision, and I have been as transparent as I humanly possibly could. I've reached out to the senior center 2 years ago almost, and it's been a long process. And yes, Jacob, we did have to go. We messed up, and we had to go get re-signatures because we didn't get the spouses of these households, and it was a learning experience that when people tell me they're having a little bit of difficulty, I can empathize with them, but understand the process because I'm no different. So that being said, yes.
You felt the pain of
Yes,
bureaucracy.
and I stayed true to the process too. That's one thing like Councilor Morton stated. So, okay. Approve and authorize for signature. A, license and service agreement with Tyler Technologies, Inc. for Encode software. B, exclusive towing agreement with Drake's Towing and Recovery. C, agreement with Kettleson and Associates for St. Helens Street and First Street alternatives analysis. And D, agreement with Wetland Solutions Northwest LLC for services related to delineation of wetland and riparian areas on city-owned property, and E, contract payments.
Move to approve and authorize for signature 5A through E.
Second?
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve 5A through E. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay, appointment to city boards. I know that we don't have any.
Yes, we do.
We got one.
We do
Yep.
have one.
Yep.
Okay.
We have Bill Eagle for the Budget Committee.
Oh.
So, do we need a motion on that? Move, we appoint Bill Eagle to the Budget Committee.
Second?
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve Bill Eagle to the Budget Committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent agenda for acceptance. A, library board minutes dated October 16th, 2018.
Move, we approve consent agenda 7A.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 7A. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay, consent agenda for approval. A, council work sessions, executive session, public hearing, and regular minutes dated November 7th and 15th, 2018. B, street closure for holiday activities, December 8th, 2018. Close Plaza Square and Strand Street from Plaza Square to Roy Tai. And C, accounts payable bill list.
I move we approve consent agenda 8A through C as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 8A through C as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay, just a reminder that this weekend is going to be a very busy weekend with Donut Day for a Cop coming up, to bazaars, right, Kathy? You got the list of them bazaars yet? And then later in the evening, at 5 o'clock, is the fireworks, and then the tree lighting at 5:30, and then the Christmas ships at 6. So a lot packed in that hour and a half, 2-hour time. We'll be having cocoa and coffee and candy canes for the little ones. Santa and Mr. and Mrs. Claus are showing up. There's also pictures with Grinch going to be down here, all happening downtown. Donut Day is at the South 13th at the police station. Pull into the big garage, and it'll be happening inside there. It's quite an event. I think that is the biggest fundraiser for the food bank. I do believe one of the biggest. It is the biggest, yes. Okay, so it's a good cause. Please show up and support that.
Yep. Are we doing a little dinner for the pilots as well? The river.
We are
Skippers?
we are hosting dinner every year. Councilor Locke, we're gonna have to show us how you do all this, because he's been.
Somebody's going to have to replace him.
I know.
I've been here for the last 6 years.
So are you gonna take over the reins?
Yep.
But she needs help.
Yeah, it's definitely is a 2-person and volunteer thing.
Yeah.
A couple of the youth council will be helping too.
Sure. And that's why I was going to welcome Yashul from the youth council to our meeting. I'll give you a chance to report here in a minute. I'm getting ready to go to counselors, so I just want to welcome you though. So, okay, I'm going to start with Council President Morton.
Well, one thing that I wanted to clarify is the port meeting, and that is, let everyone know when that is. What do we have? Wednesday?
December 12th, 8:30 at the library.
In the auditorium, not the
The
library,
Yeah,
the
auditorium at the library.
at the Columbia Center.
Okay, well, I guess they're two buildings.
other
but they're
end of the
same
building from
the
the
same
library.
building. Yeah.
At 8:30 a.m.
8:30 a.m.
Okay. got that. So along with that, we're expecting a draft from our staff. Is that correct? The council is? Now, will we have time to review that draft prior to Wednesday, like on Monday or so? Can we come in and take a look at it, or could you email it to us? when would be the appropriate time for that? So, John,
I would hope to have something either tomorrow or Friday morning.
oh, really? Okay,
it out to you.
that soon? Okay, and will it be language in terms of waiting for to table that motion and until the study is done? Or will it have language in saying it will be a no until the study is determined? What kind of language are we going to use on that? Do we want to deliberate about that? I really want to know now, if I can. I mean, do you want that language that says it's a no until the study is done?
Well, my feeling is kind of hold off. We don't have, I mean, if they can hold up their vote, that would be great. We have a lot of unknowns right now. How can anybody educate themselves? We're running a city on oil, and the little amount of time we've had, or anything behind it, or these bonds, and I mean, all the testimony that happened today was just phenomenal to me. I mean, it was
Without
a
a
lot
doubt.
to take in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe that's
We-
the ask.
But
is,
we can request that they
request-
delay.
Yeah, a request to delay their decision.
Until the study is done.
Well, I think, yeah, and I think there was a couple different things that jumped out at me was bonding, and,
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Who's going to flip the bill if it happens?
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And what we did was we picked up the pieces for the port, for their, actually for their poor governance, and not allowing citizens the right to really testify. And that's what we heard today as well. We heard that over and over and over again. And look at our council chambers. Our council chambers would not have been crowded if they would have allowed people to testify. So, that's apparent. That's just blatantly apparent. So hopefully we allow those people to testify, and if they're if we just ask to put off the vote, then are they still going to allow people to testify? And I think that's the most important thing, especially people in our community.
That's important to talk about safety.
Yep. Yes.
So and I appreciate staff doing that. I appreciate staff going forward and working with that.
It's a kind of a slippery slope that you have to be very careful with, too. I mean, we don't, right?
Yeah, I'm here to serve you, and whatever you collectively can come up and agree upon, I will be happy to put that into words.
Well, just what I was alluding to then, John, was I was just talking to the rest of council, just making a point that they could improve in their governance, and that doesn't have to be in the letter. But by golly, it certainly is apparent to me. I mean, wow. So to have this, to say a no vote until the train study is done, until we get community involvement, I would be fine with that. I would support that. But I'd also support a bit of language of suggesting that they put it off for a certain amount of time. And so I don't know what that time is going to be.
Until the
That's
study
up
is
to them.
completed.
Until they get 100% public testimony in their, in their forums. They need to hear all those voices that we heard today.
I think that's why I seriously think, Doug, I think you're right. And I think it's obvious if the apparent to them, that's why they're reaching out to a bigger venue, and the auditorium is available for this next hearing.
Good.
I think that's
Good.
They're anticipating exactly your concerns.
Well, and then the other thing
I can't speak for them.
Yeah, and the other thing that I felt really good about is that we are open, and we got congratulated a bunch because we're listening and we're trying to do the right thing. So it's an open forum. Whether we want oil or not is not a concern. It's what we want is good governance. So that's how I'm weighing in. That's my report. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Khan.
I don't think I have anything to add.
Okay.
I'm concerned that the letter get out on time too.
Yep. Okay. Councillor Carlson.
Two things. I'm not afraid to say that no to expanding the oil port westward. I think there's been a lot of maneuvering. I really am optimistic that the port is trying to do the right thing. I just think we need to write this letter and say that the safety of our citizens has to come first, and it has to be not jobs at any cost. You know, we really need to do our homework, make sure all of our communities are safe. I mean, everybody, I mean, we talked about Scappoose, but God bless Little Rainier. You know, it's just, it's like somebody's got to have their hand on the safety switch and say, let's just get our ducks in a row here. So I'm encouraged that we'll have that letter. The only other thing I had that I didn't mention earlier is the Oregon Cultural Trust has a lot of money to give out to citizens, to communities like ours, and they will be doing a presentation of their offerings in January 24th at the noon meeting of the Kiwanis, and they had invited anybody that's interested in finding about grant writing, etc., for anything that might apply to Oregon Cultural Trust. That's noon at the Kiwanis at the Elks. They asked me to extend that invitation to the city and to Jenny, because Jenny is our kind of featured grant writer, but pass it on to Margaret at the library. Anything that is inclusion, cultural, historical, all of that stuff could fall under that bonnet. And they just have a new program and a new money stream that could prove very wonderful for communities like St. Helens.
And again, the date, time, and place.
Yeah, it's noon. It's noon Kiwanis at the Elks.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure everybody knew, because Keith is not always there and not always able to bring that message back. But I will try to make sure Jenny gets that information, because, you know, Jacob has left the meeting, but that's all I have.
Okay. Councillor Locke.
I just wanted to talk about the Christmas ship dinner Saturday from, we'll probably start about 3:45 and go to 5. And if any of you guys want to come and help, you can help us.
I can help
dish
eat
that
some
out.
food.
You can do that too.
I am going to be occupied.
So anyway, I think this is the 11th year for that.
I'll probably pop in right at the start of it, because I'm going to be down there, you know, doing the
You're going to be playing with fire?
Western fireworks.
No,
No,
you're
no,
gonna be
no.
playing with fire.
We're not actually doing a bonfire this year. We're doing burn
Fireworks.
Barrels. Yeah, yes, fireworks.
Lots of barrels.
Still fire.
Burn barrels.
It's going to be cold.
Yep.
Burn barrels.
I'm
where
booked
the area
till-
where Santa is too.
Till 3 o'clock at Timberline Lodge, so it depends on how fast that little Subi can get down the hill in a snowstorm and down here to the celebration. So you should see me at 3:05. No, you should see me in about 4:30, 4:45, something like that.
The snow is supposed to hold off until that late evening, so we'll see.
That's
Yeah.
good. That,
And
that,
Subarus.
that dials my time back a little. All right.
Other than that, just want to comment on our letter to the port, and I think we do need to let them know that, you know, there needs to be more transparency and they need to listen more, and it isn't just about the dollars and cents and taxes and whatnot, but I guess it would be nice to know all those numbers, and the community needs to know all those numbers if that's what they're making their decision on. Is how much tax base it's going to bring here. What is that? You know, is it worth the risk or not? Other than that, just, you know, I applaud everybody for, you know, speaking up on this. There'll be some repercussions, I guarantee you. Port commissioners will be a little standoffish for a while, but that's all right. So that's all I got.
I don't think it's about that. I think it's about more of a communication line that needs to be. That's what I'm. You know, that's what we're trying to to build here, you know. Yeah, you know, I guess I see
Well, I
a
realize
bad
that's what it's about,
optimism out of a
communication,
bad
but
situation.
just the testimony here, I know why they're trying to get it through because they know what the communication's going to bring.
Yeah.
And there's a time element that they have,
Yeah.
which was, I forget what testimony brought that out. I think it was Paulette who brought that time element out, that they've got to do things by June and they've got to get everything, all their ducks in a row
The
quickly.
one thing I forgot about though is when we were talking about this, whenever it was, a couple years ago, whatnot, 2 or 3 years ago, didn't Portland like ban oil trains
Yes.
through them?
Yes,
Yes.
So
So what happened?
what
That's-
happened?
that's why they started going to Washington side.
They went over to the Washington side.
Yeah.
Well,
they jump
yeah, but
around.
how's it going to get here? Still has to go
Without
through
going
Portland.
to Portland.
Yeah, they jump around. They're just looking for any port. in
It's
the
got to
center.
come through
If
Portland.
you can
to
hang
get here.
around to the end of the meeting and answer that question, I will, because I have a last little for other business. I'll bring you in.
So, that,
Yes.
That's when we did our ordinance.
right, and then they banned it.
Or not ordinance, I mean,
Everybody
our
kind of forgot
proclamation.
about it because it was a
That was
new
an ordinance.
thing at that time.
Resolution 2013, August 2013 is when you guys did your resolution. And all four
I
of
still
you
want
are
to
on
know
it.
what happened there. That
Yep.
those trains can come through Portland
That's been
after
4
they
years.
banned it. So that's all.
Yep. Okay. Anything else, Keith?
No.
Okay. Youth Counselor Yashul. I said that right? Okay.
I'll correct you. Yeah.
Yes, correct me.
Testing. Okay, I'm
Vishal.
here. My name is Vishal Christian. That's how you pronounce it.
I'll get it.
I'm here representing the St. Helens Youth Council.
Yep.
So, due to the nature of the youth council, people graduate from it. It's not like this where people can just be here all the time. People graduate and they leave, and so a lot of decisions that they've made in the past affect us now. And so we have a big, huge pile of reflectors and stuff which we're supposed to be selling. But we've made enough funds, so we need like as many funds as we need, and we've put together as much money as we need. So we're going to be distributing them amongst all the schools. I think we have the St. Helens High School, the St. Helens Middle School, McBride, the Columbia City Elementary School, and let's see. Right, and we want to take a more, at least I do, I want to take a more government approach with the whole youth council and the way it's run. And so I was thinking, we were looking at what we should do, and we noticed we're pretty disconnected from the youth as a whole, because we're a small group of representatives of the youth, and it's a pretty diverse group of people from Scappoose School, people from homeschool, speaking of myself, people from the St. Helens Middle School and High School, but it's not really, we're not in direct contact with the students themselves or the schools themselves, and so we're talking about creating a link or a sort of a way we can communicate with the school systems, way we can communicate with I guess just general youth programs, and that's pretty much the main things we're doing right now.
Nice.
Each class has student council, and in a student council, they have a student body council as well, but each class has a class president and a council. Is there any way that you folks can link up through talking to your vice principal, link up with your student council to report to them, and work with those people to report any concerns or have any concerns that they have and bring back to the council?
Councilor Morton, Keith and I have reached out to Noel Freshner, that is leadership director for the high school, and their leadership has also expressed a desire to have a unified South Columbia County leadership. So we're just trying to put together some dates and to when they could come here and have maybe a couple representatives from their group come to our group and see what that looks like going forward.
Perfect.
But Vishal brought this energy to our group. It has really re-inspired a lot of the members because they want to make a difference. That's the reason why they signed up for Youth Council in the first place. And so they're excited to kind of follow his lead. As he pointed out, we have a lot of seniors that have graduated, and it's just a matter of nurturing that up to grow their strength.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just so you know, I envision, and I think most everybody knows, but taking this show on the road for the work sessions to the high school. Talk to Kathy, and she's the most important part because it has to do with recording our and taking our minutes. But and actually bringing this to the high school for possibly an assembly for the civics class or whatever Mr. Musum's classes are, you know.
You want to put 1,000 kids to sleep?
No, I want to bring some real stuff to the table, like maybe waterfront redevelopment, maybe bring in Dwight Untie, maybe it's something, you know, maybe it's something completely different than that at that time.
Mr. Musin facilitates a really good conversation. Keith and I have done a day in civics every year since we've had youth council. This last year I did it with Shauna with the rec program.
Sure.
And you spend a whole day and you see every senior he instructs in his class, and they ask any question they want, and you're on the spot.
Yeah.
They would love to have you.
Rick wants to go.
Well, I'm thinking a actual work session. They don't get to be here for our work sessions. They
Right.
don't get to really see. This was not our council meeting. Okay, our council meeting was earlier, and a lot of this was discussed. That this will be on tonight's agenda, and it was discussed what it is in length and detail earlier, and we didn't make a decision. And we bring it to this meeting, and then all this was discussed. Or Drake's Towing was discussed 2 meetings ago.
So this is just like the deciding through the councilors?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That's what the regular session is. It's adopting the policies. Is basically what we're doing. We're adopting the policies in this meeting here. We're kind of talking and discussing how we envision them in the work session. Okay? So it's a lot different. It really is. There's a lot more to it, and you're just seeing just a tiny, tiny bit. So you have to watch a video if you want to. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was trying to see how this is going to fit into the high school.
Yeah, we'd literally have to probably start at probably about 10 or 10:30.
They'd have to be able to come and go.
Yeah, I know. So, or we take a lunch with them. At what time do you guys lunch there? 11:45, somewhere right around there.
Yeah, I'm the homeschooler of it.
Are you?
Yeah.
But still, yeah. I mean, you're something like that would be open. It would be an open public meeting, so you would still be able to attend. I mean because that's what we are. Anywhere we go, it's public. Yep. So, yeah. Welcome. I appreciate your enthusiasm too.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay. We're gonna go to department reports. Chief Greenway. Okay. Yep. Sue. Okay. See, they even reported a lot earlier. Margaret's always got quite a bit. That library's got a lot going on over there.
Well, I have 2 more things to add that I didn't mention earlier today. I want to add one more thing to all the activities that are going on Saturday. The Columbia County Museum Association has installed an exhibit in the lobby of the Columbia Center. And it's antique and vintage toys for the month of December. And they've assembled this exhibit, and it has things like Buddy L dump trucks all the way up to Chatty Cathy dolls and Star Wars toys. It's quite interesting to see. There are about 4 or 5 display cases full of toys. And then they have pictures, some early pictures of firefighters in Columbia County that are cleaning up toys for a toy giveaway that was kind of the early seeds of Toy and Joy. So it's a nice exhibit. And on Saturday, they're going to have a reception at 2:00 in the lobby and serve hot cider. So if you can come by any time during the month of December and see the toys, but the reception is at 2, just as the library closes on Saturday. And while I'm talking about the Museum and Association, I just want to mention that in February of this year, our reference librarian, Brenda Heron Kanega, got the idea to form a group that would focus on genealogy and bring together different speakers and resources that would allow people who had an interest in figuring out what to do with old family photos or scrapbooks or whatever, or to research their family's history. And she decided to call the group Genial Genealogists. And a lot of the members of the Museum Association have brought their talents to this monthly group. They meet the first Monday of the month at 6:30. I just wanted to report that this past Monday, 23 people showed up. And the group just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And so it's become quite vibrant. So I would invite anybody to be a part of that group that has an interest. And each Monday has a different focus topic. So, but they have everybody from just beginners to professional genealogists there. So you can come with your artifacts and your questions, and it's a really genial group. So that's all I have.
Margaret, Matt?
I just wanted to update you all on the recreation sign that is being made. So that is going to be sent over probably end of this week or early next week. And then I will have Mark Comfort's construction guys installing the sign, hopefully before Christmas, but definitely before the end of the year. And then
it's going to be up on the building?
Yes, correct. So it'll say City or St. Helens Recreation Center and then the address.
And the logo? Do you have a logo for recreation?
Not for the recreation program, no. We decided on the building itself, it'll just say St. Helens Recreation Center. It won't have a city logo specifically on the building. So John has also asked me to, since I'm already working with a sign company, to start working on the industrial park, business park sign. So I will have a design for John to share with you all. Hopefully within the next couple weeks, and then by the time they make it and actually get it installed, probably January, February at the very latest. So just so you know that we're moving forward on that.
Cool.
Right.
The colors for that would be in the wayfinding scheme that the city's adopted. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, cool. Yep. Okay, Kathy? All right, John?
I was going to plug the Donut Day tree lighting, fireworks, Christmas ship music, Santa thing one last time. And looking around the room, I'm looking at, it's a little bit different than last year because we don't have, new carpet, different chairs. I think the carpet was here last year, but the tables are, there's a little mark to show back there. Logistically, we might have to look at the tables where we have.
Where we're going to put them?
I only see three tables right there. So some of them, I know one was broken, so we'll have to.
We'll have to
Are there others in the back, Tina?
We have enough tables, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, because this room is pretty tight when they're packed in here pretty to capacity. But
with captains and everybody, yeah. Yep.
So the assignment to come up with a letter, I'm kind of thinking how to go through that. It's maybe more of a workshop topic, but I'll just kind of tell you what I'm thinking right now is to start with the resolution that we already have on the books and maybe have hearing some of the themes I've heard about, inclusive public process, this bonding, public safety, the environmental tracks, and maybe come with a core letter and maybe a Chinese menu kind of approach of adds and deletes that I'll distribute to the council, and you guys can come back and we'll kind of regroup and get that out sooner or later so you have the time to look at it.
Yeah.
How will we regroup before the 12th?
Feedback by email.
You will give feedback on the points that you would.
Okay. You
Just
said
like we
get that
do.
together.
ABC or other, right?
Just like any government runs, it all comes through the city administrator. It's supposed to.
I know. I'm fine with that. I just wanted it clarified.
And
We
there's
weren't
always-
having another meeting.
And there,
Yeah,
No.
just do not reply all. That's right.
and you know, if it doesn't hit your, you know, if the final product doesn't hit exactly what you want to talk, you're always welcome to come to the meeting and speak as a counselor. and
That's right.
To your opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point.
Or a telephone call.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you can either speak as a council or individual as councilors. So.
What do you mean a telephone call?
To the commissioners.
You can call your port commissioner.
Oh, yeah. Direct. Yep.
Yeah.
No, we'll call you.
Yes. Okay. What else you got?
That's good. That's enough.
Okay, so now we got other business. We're going to get an answer to this, this potentially to this rail. State your name again for the record.
Dan Sears, I'm a conservation director with Columbia Riverkeeper. And so we're actually a party on the challenge to that case, which was challenged to the Land Use Board of Appeals. When the city of Portland banned fossil fuel infrastructure, that's a dramatic overstatement of what they actually did. That's how it kind of got reported. But really what they did is they defined very large tanks, was the primary thing, as bulk fossil fuel infrastructure. And they essentially restricted those in all zones within the city. So it was a very specific approach that was grounded in Oregon land use law, realizing so they couldn't deal with trains.
Yeah.
That's interstate commerce.
Right.
You all are,
We're
everyone's
familiar with
preempted
that.
to deal with that.
Right.
Couldn't really deal with pipelines because the pipelines cross the river and go to Washington. So the place where they found their footing was on those tanks. What's interesting is, there's an existing facility in Portland called Zenith that is small.
Yeah.
They move about 20,000 barrels a day, but there is some tar sands that moves through there now, which sort of, so as much as they could, the city tried to box out big, huge things like a massive oil terminal, while leaving space for the fact that the city of Portland moves the vast majority of fossil fuels through the region, and they didn't want to choke off the spigot, obviously, because that's bad for everyone.
Yeah.
So it was, it's a really good question because it's frustrating to many folks in your position that you don't actually get to say those trains are too dangerous for my town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
But we can make them uncomfortable.
Yes. Okay. Any other comments before I adjourn? All right. We're adjourned.